Today I'm going to talk a little bit about wood storage and how it's evolved here. We put the wood burning stove in, I think it was only 2 years ago. There's the little bit of the chimney up there in the top right corner in the screen there. And what I had done was I had sort of haphazardly come across a lot of these old apple bins, which normally you'd have to buy for $100 or something like that. But I got like 30 of them for free. And I didn't have any place to store them. I wasn't even really asking for them. So it was just a very random thing. And so I figured, all right, I'm going to use these as wood bins. I'll put split wood in them and then easily cover it with this sheet metal that I had. And then when we need a new bin, I will go and grab my little tractor with the janky little forks thing that barely fits under these bins and barely lets you drive away from them. And I would come up to the house and I would drop a bin, and I have my little wood chip ramp so I can actually clear the porch. And then we have a nice bin of split dried wood, and that's the door where it all needs to go into because that's the closest access to the stove. So that was okay for a little while, but it did leave a lot to be desired. You can't really fit a whole lot. I mean, one bin is pretty big, but in a really cold stretch, that may only last, 9 days, maybe 7 to 9 days or so. It looks like I haven't really fully decided how much of wood is in there, because of course it matters so much how you pack it. A lot of the time I had been splitting and just throwing it haphazardly in there, but then other times I would split and really stack them in there, and obviously that's a huge factor in terms of how much of a cord. Anyway, I wasn't really liking it, and I don't want to have to turn on my tractor all the time in the winter, although it is good to do that every once in a while. But anyway, I decided I wanted a more traditional woodshed, and I was looking for a spot, and originally we were going to go right where this hugel mound is. Well, no, originally it was going to be here, where it is now, because that's where I had all the bins, and it's sort of a dead zone in terms of the space flow. And then I was going to go here, so it'd be a little closer, but it does seem that area was a little bit flatter and right by the road. So the flow in general is that this is a parking spot, and where those bins is a parking spot, and then where the tractor is, and then where that car is. So there's sort of like parking spot, tree, parking spot, tree. And what this allows for is if I harvest logs from the property, I can eventually skid them down the road and bring them here. Or if I get a picker truck full of logs dropped off, they can probably just drop them right there. It'd be nice to have them in front here, but with the power lines and the branches, I don't know, I can clear out some of the branches. But either way, the logs will be delivered virtually directly to the woodshed, bucked, split, stacked, and then my plan now is I may entirely forego the bins. Of course, I could keep the bin system, come out here, bring the empty bin back here with the tractor, load it up, and then put the full bin on the deck. Or it's not that far, even in the winter with a little bit of snow. I could spend, an hour every Sunday and bring in that week's worth of wood. So it depends on what I'm feeling. Part of the consideration is that we're planning on closing the deck in which case it would be more difficult to do this. Don't get me wrong, it is nice to have a good chunk, week's worth of wood in a bin that you can move with a tractor. I do like that about the system for sure. But anyway, we wanted more storage capacity, and so my great friend Sean Dombrowski from Edible Acres came down, and I said I was going to build a woodshed, and he said, okay, can I bring some tools? I said, no, don't worry about it. I have all the tools. And then, of course, we realized it would have been nice if he had brought some of his tools. But anyway, he's really great in terms of many things, but in this particular case, dealing with sort of irregular building patterns. So I had these black locust posts that I wanted to use for the project, and usually when I build things, they're a little bit more rectilinear. So it was nice to have someone who's dealt with the vagaries of curvy roundwood structures. So anyway, after clearing the area a little bit, we didn't really worry about leveling the ground or anything like that. We just dug post holes as deep as we could, which was a little bit of a challenge with this huge spruce here. But most of them got down to 2 feet. Some of them got down to 3 feet. One of them, I think, was, shallow, but I think that was this one. This one was pretty shallow, but most of them got there eventually. Took some doing. One great tip is a Sawzall with like a metal, demo blade, like a long demo blade, will get you through some pretty weird root, intrusions. Of course, I did hit a rock and dulled the blade finally, but it's pretty heavy duty for cutting stuff out of the dirt with rocks and everything in it. Anyway, once those posts got in the ground, and you don't want to go and dig a huge hole with an excavator because then it's loose soil, and you want to disturb as little as possible to get that post in there. So we got those in, and then lined everything up and cut our notches, and so we've basically just got headers, and those were milled here from the last spruce that fell down. Headers on the north and south side. We're looking at the south entrance right now. Some bracing, and then I had cut rafters. I had cut what I planned to use for rafters, but they weren't quite long enough, so that's the one piece of lumber we did have to buy. And then these are black locust bracing and black locust purlins to catch the roof. Let's go around back. And this whole structure, each side, with an average of 7 feet height, packs 3.8 cords. So it's a pretty solid amount of wood. And then it's really nice. Just nearing the end of putting the structure up, a neighbor came by and said, hey, I've got some slab wood. If you want, you can come grab it for free. So the slabs we put across the side with nice, pretty, these are 5 1/4 GRKs. My impact driver could barely drive them into black locust like that. And then those are white oak staves going up and down to catch the wood. It's bowing out a little bit, but like I said, these are pretty big GRKs. And in the future, I think I will probably do castle stacking a little bit on the ends just to put a little less pressure on. But these boards and the GRKs, this whole system would be able to take a pretty good amount of pressure going outwards. Not that I would want to load it more than necessary, though. So the last thing, I just got to do a little bit of trimming up there because some of the sheets were long. But the 2-bay system is pretty good. This way you have one bay for 1 year, another bay for the second year. This is my next year pile, already almost getting there. And Sean convinced me to put a divider in between. I was just sort of gonna stack them next to each other, but it's a really nice idea to have a divider so that once this is empty, that can stay upwards and you don't have to do the castle stacking, because the cross stacking where you do 3 one way and then the next layer 90 degrees or off from that, it just takes a little bit more thought. And I mean, it's not that bad to have to think, but it's kind of nice to be able to just throw the wood in there. So anyway, there's a couple little short videos and pictures of the building of the structure that I'll follow this up with. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think with these locust posts in the ground the way they are, and all the structural members being pretty heavy duty, I don't think that this thing is at risk of falling down under really any snow load. I think the death knell for this shed within the next 50 years will probably be the spruce, but it might not even fall down this way. The last one fell down towards the north, which I think is more likely here. The one last thing that I probably will do is put some angled, probably go from like here to there, and on the other side, or maybe there to here will look a little nicer, I don't know. But although the posts are really deep and there's a lot of heavy duty screws in, there isn't, I don't think there's enough cross bracing to protect from movement in that dimension. Although there's nothing there, and we had some crazy winds the day after we put this thing up. The timing of this was really funny because we put it up, or we dug the holes on a day where there was 0 frost in the ground. That night, I think after we dug the holes and had the posts in, it went down to 0. The ground froze up. The next night it was -7. And the ground has been pretty hard ever since. So the day we started it, we uncovered all my covered wood, started building this thing, and we haven't had a drop of precipitation since, and it was very precipitory leading up to that time. So it was just sort of a streak of good luck. And I really, if you have the time and the inclination, I really recommend building with locust posts if they're in your area, or whatever other tree could fit the bill there, because these can be in ground contact for 50 years, no problem, when they're this wide and have a lot of heartwood. So anyway, that's the intro, and now I'll show some clips of the building process.